Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help. And King of Floors, your vinyl, laminate, and engineered flooring superstore.
Good, Rick? Donnie and Dolly presented by Able Auctions. If you have assets, inventory, or equipment that you need to sell, email sales@ableauctions.ca. And King of Floors, your vinyl, laminate, and engineered flooring superstore. Meanwhile, it is Tuesday, and all of our guests today are sponsored by Skipper Auto, just ahead of Arthur Griffiths, supporting Canadian fishing families through a revolutionary seafood buying experience. Check them out online at skipperauto.com. A big week for the Canucks. They play their final two games today and tomorrow, and then it is decision time in a big, big way. And with that in mind, we thought we'd bring in the former owner of the Canucks, the Grizzlies, and Rogers Arena. His family so well respected around these parts, Arthur Griffiths. Arthur, how are you, sir? Thanks for doing this.
Brilliant, Donnie. Hey, Rick. How are you guys?
How are you doing, Arthur? Always great to talk with you, my friend.
It's mutual.
Thank you.
What's your opinion of the current state of the Canucks, Arthur?
I've never seen the old expression, right? If there's had any luck, it's bad. It's just in the beginning of the year, even partway through the year before the pandemic, I thought they had a really good shot at making the playoffs. And then you get into these injuries and, of course, the COVID and the whole 9 yards and the travel and all that sort of stuff. So I like the core of this team a lot, and I like the prospects. I think the future is bright. You look at it; it didn't just go out the window in the course of the last 6 months. This has been in the last probably 3 months that the wheels came off. So I'm excited for the future, but I'm really sad for the players right now that they're going through this terrible situation that nobody can control, including, of course, the management of the virus and all. And I don't know, guys. I don't know if you've got anybody that's been sick from the virus, but they don't wake up the next day and feel fine. Mm-hmm. This is lingering, and so for somebody, that last period of the last game, I was like, "What is going on? What are these guys not paying attention to their body? Because how did they come up with that energy? I don't know. It was exciting to watch, but at the same time, I'm looking forward to the future because I love the young guys. I love the veterans. I think about probably this year, guys, you would know this, but the statistics around injuries and missed games by players is probably at an all-time high given the number of games they played.
What do you expect in the coming weeks, Arthur? Do you expect major changes in this organization? General manager, coach, all of that?
I hope not, but I'm sure that there's all things are on the table. I of course like Jim, and I've known Jim for a long time, and Travis and the coaches. Again, I look back at a year ago now, basically, at least last summer and late summer, and I think this is more or less the same core. A couple of player changes. Good and bad, of course, but they trade out. And I think, okay, we got good goaltending. We got great young players and development on the defense. And then the forwards, if they were healthy remotely, and I think so somewhere along the line, it's just getting a little bit of the good luck break as opposed to the bad.
Arthur, the general consensus out there, or the opinion, is that Francesco Aquilini makes some decisions for Jim Benning, that there's meddling going on. I don't know if that's true or not, but how important is it for an NHL team owner, a team owner in any sport, to hire people, good people, and let them do their jobs?
Well, I guess I'd have to say I'm the living example of that, so to speak. I mean, he probably came to the right person to ask that question. I was never more clear and more relieved that when we hired Pat to let him do the job, and that includes filling out his team. I said this many, many times, but it's been a long time. I've said this publicly, is that, my job was to hire the best person to run the hockey department, in this case, general manager, president in my day, and let them do their job. What they needed from me was thereafter, maybe occasionally approval on a outlandish not outlandish, but an extraordinary expense, namely a 5 years, $5 million contract. But otherwise, who played when they played, I had an opinion, but I was rarely one that said, you got to do this or that. That was not how I approached it. So I feel that that's where the some owners, I'm not saying this one because I don't know, is they get lost because they think that, that why would you do the job of someone you've hired to do the job? It's like same with the manager. If the manager's telling the coach how to coach the team, well, that's kind of silly. That's like, what are you going to do? Why don't you go behind the bench, right? An opinion is one thing, but interfering to a level of decision making, I think is fatal, actually.
Arthur, what are the pressure points for a hockey owner? Is it season ticket sales going down, the heat from the media? What are some of the things as an owner when you were running the Canucks? What were the pressure points where you said, hey, we got to make changes?
Well, usually if I was in a parking lot at night and someone yelled my name, I would maybe consider a change. No. Look, it's as simple as this. You've got to be almost void of the noise. You've got to really, really look at, as I just kind of outlined, whether it's the coach and the manager and cohesive, at some point, you either believe in the direction, and there's a blip on the screen, if you want to call it, for lack of a better description. I think the trajectory of this team is great. I believe that there are some, decisions that have been made, we all know, that probably you'd want to do over again, clearly. But on the long run, and that's hockey, and that's sport, right? You don't always win every move you make. But I think that the team is in the right direction. And so I think for me would be, as an owner, I'd be mostly concerned in the dispassionate tickets, money, all that stuff aside. I would try to put that to the side and just say, are we building a team that can win? And are we building a team that the fans want to support?
What about the brand? I always get this. I've heard this a lot in the last week, Arthur. The brand is getting hurt. The Canucks are clearly one of the top brands in British Columbia, but right now, consumer confidence is low. Arthur, we've had season ticket holders text our show and say they're not gonna renew. What about the brand? How important is it in today's sports, Arthur?
Well, clearly, I mean, there's two things. The brand is affected by decisions, or I'll call it winning and losing. And then the brand is affected by bad behavior, if you will. So I think that the team is now at a point where they have to, quasi regroup and reposition the brand, as you're well said, Rick, by the way. Is repositioned. I guess you don't get hear that very often, I suppose. So I think that the fact of the matter is, I believe that the team is the brand needs probably a reboot, if you want. You've got some really spectacular young players and great goaltending. I mean, I would think that some teams that are in the pack near us, near the bottom right now, would be envious of what we have. I look at Ottawa. Remember where Ottawa was? They probably wanted to fire everybody in Ottawa that ever did anything in Ottawa, and here they are. What is it? 9-2-1 in their last 12 games. Pardon me.
Yeah, lots of promise there, Arthur. Most people would agree the best ownership situation the Canucks ever had was when you were in charge, when your family was in charge, your dad, everybody. Does Francesco reach out to you? Do you stay in touch with him? Does he ask you for advice?
Without dealing in the specifics, we spoke last week just about this, and I was just encouraging him and saying, I remembered in my time when I was never more relieved, is that when, so to speak, when Pat was here, is that I could count on Pat to steer the ship consistently as it relates to both the building. And one of the great things about Pat, and I feel bad for others who aren't like that, is Pat is more than capable of saying to somebody, no, that's just not the way it is. I mean, he would be standing up there to criticism or otherwise and say, no, this is the focus, this is the plan, this is what needs to be done. Clear, everybody understood, and I think that's a challenge right now because there might be some confusion in the marketplace as to where the direction is sometimes. But again, you're under fire. I mean, it's a way more so than in my time, even obviously with all the forms of media. So I think that's got to be something that I mean, who wants to? Oh gosh, put yourself out there. But I admire anybody that does, and I admire the fact that I think Francesco is open to anything, obviously, in terms of input and advice, but I don't get into specifically about personnel at all. That's not my space.
Arthur, this is great. If you don't mind, we'd like to have you on for another segment. We haven't touched on the mid '80s and the hiring of Pat Quinn and the Grizzlies and all that. So if you don't mind, we'd like to have you for another short segment, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, anytime, guys.
Okay, but we'll hang tight. We'll take a commercial.
Stay on.
Stay on.
We'll take a commercial break, and we'll have you back in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
All
right.
Then.
All right.
Thanks, of course.
Arthur Griffiths in our next segment. Thanks so much for tuning in, folks. Donnie and Dolly, the team on Check. All of our Tuesday guests again brought to you by Skipper Auto. See what I have to deal with, Arthur? It's just,
Arthur loves me. Don't go there.
Yeah.
Arthur's a Dollywell fan, and he knows it.
Okay. All right.
Arthur,
Okay.
mid '80s. I want to talk to you about Jeff Cornell, but mid '80s. Yeah. How important was it for your family to reach out to Pat Quinn and hire the man?
Oh, well, the history speaks for itself, but it was a very, very critical movement from our standpoint because what we were looking for was credibility within the operations of the team and the community and so on. So, he was obviously the right man for the job, but it was vital because we weren't hitting anybody. We weren't, as a family, it wasn't our background to be running and broadcasting. Broadcasting was our business, and none of us were hockey executives. And of course, like I said earlier, he brought together both a vision of the team on the ice and off the ice, I suppose is one way to put it. And then a new level of respect at the league once he got behind the bench and running the business. A little bit of a blip on the start.
No, I asked the question just because this is an important time for the Canucks, and maybe something like that is about to happen. But we'll see. But meanwhile, Arthur, Jeff Cornell. He played for you back in the '90s.
Yeah.
Can you understand why the Canucks would reach out to him?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, I think that's one of the things in it to a certain extent, although not the concept is the same in a way. You turn to people who have been there, done that in the sense of played the game. They have a rapport with the, and understand, what it takes to win. I'm not sure our choice and our difference was that we were looking for somebody that was going to run the whole show. Mm-hmm. I mean, so there is a general manager and a coach in the place now. If you're looking for an external mentor, advisor, I suppose is a way to put it. I suppose Jeff has some of the qualities that one might like. He played here, of course. He's from British Columbia. He's got a lot of his ex-teammates I'm sure he's still in touch with. I think, however, if it was me, I'd be more inclined to be looking towards someone that's former executive of an NHL team. Because the game, even from my days, we all know, what you can and cannot do, the collective bargaining agreement, the limitations. I mean, you need to go to school. Yeah, you need to go to school. It's just not something you walk in the door and says, "Oh, I know how to build a team," and then wake up and you realize, "Well, I can't do that." As you say, the CBA or the cap is like, "No, you can't do that." It always looks easy from the outside. It's like, why did you lose certain players, or why didn't you sign that player? Well, you're balancing a budget. That wasn't the case in my time.
Arthur, can we move over to the Vancouver Grizzlies? Do you see any we were talking last week about baseball maybe the Oakland A's might move, and hey, people were wondering if they would come to Vancouver. We'll get to baseball in a second, but NBA, do you ever see it back, Arthur, in Vancouver?
100%. 100%.
100.
Yes. The simple fact is, of course, is of when, how, but the simple fact is that Vancouver should have a team. Okay. If you look at it in another way, there are very few cities in the NBA that, on one level or another, at least half the league, that we wouldn't be favorably viewed as a better city. That's just bias, of course, but it's a fact in another way. But whether it's be, and we've got an arena, we've got so I think the league owes something along those lines. They're not going to do it for free, but I'm of the view that the best route forward for an NBA franchise back in Vancouver is to try to acquire an existing one. That's probably going to get some coverage in places that I might hear from, but it's a fact. I think that there was a better way to go about it. I would not be inclined to jump into the mix unless there was some assurance of putting forward a bid for an NBA expansion team, not because I've been stunned or stung. It's just that I don't think that's the right way forward. I think that relocating an existing franchise here would be smart for the league and really, really smart for Vancouver.
Yeah, but Arthur, is Vancouver big enough? Is there enough money?
100%.
Is there enough money in the city? Toronto's pulling it off because, their population is double than ours. Is there enough money and fans in the city to make it work, though, Arthur?
Yeah, 100%. First and foremost, the NBA economics are driven, of course, by the player salaries and cap. The economics are totally different. It's an apple and an orange. So let's talk about the business side. The financial cost to cover your payroll is covered by your broadcast agreement. So you're right out of the gate. Because what I think you're getting at, Rick, is you're getting at the dollars and cents. Is there enough money here to pay for an American payroll?
Right.
Well,
it's
not necessary. It's not necessary.
Right.
It's already covered. So
TV
what you're now
contract.
looking at is the ancillary costs, whether it's the travel, expenses, and marketing, and sales, and all these other scouting, all of those costs. There's additional marketing revenue that is U.S. driven, and then of course there's broadcast agreements in Canada. The Raptors have currently the entire country. When they sell the national broadcast deal, the Raptors get all the money. If Vancouver came back into the league, they'd have to split it.
Right.
We could keep you all day, Arthur. For people who don't know, what are you up to these days?
Well, I'm actually I have an investment company, and I've got psychedelics and cannabis for health purposes and medical purposes. I've got a real passion for people with both mental health and post-traumatic syndrome, and so I'm focusing on formulas and growing such that people can have a better quality of life.
Awesome. Arthur, thanks so much for this. We'll get you back soon. Appreciate it.
Oh, one more. I'm
more?
the president of the Canuck Alumni Foundation. I should really throw that in there.
Nice.
So that's
nice.
That keeps me really involved with all the guys again.
Nice.
Good on you. And
Real treat.
Your family was so good at reaching out to the community and reaching out to the older players. And I know it's much appreciated. But this has been great, Arthur. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
You bet.
Cheers, guys.